and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. So hello there and welcome to this Ascension update for the month of February. So we have a beautiful month and we are just beginning to feel the first sprouts, right? The first wave of the eclipse gateway, right? We triggered responses within our bodies, within the clearing space, everything that we have been experiencing. This was a huge gateway of clearing space. If you go back to the last month of January, as you know, January was super intense. There was so much breakthrough potentiality, but at the same time, it was quite challenging for us to actually break through all that quagmire and intensity. And the first effects of, this eclipse, the first wave of the effects is being felt within those initiates who've really done the work, who have entered their core, who have went deep into their cave, the dwelling of their own soul essence, and they've sort of worked within the realms of magic. Okay, so magic is the quality of ineffable, of that which is unspeakable. It's not the kind of magic, when we talk about witchcraft, things like that. It's the magic of the soul. It's basically that which exists within the realm of soul alchemy. And those of you who have been doing this, who have been participating with life in such a magical way, are truly going to you're going to begin feeling these waves that are moving you ahead, that are moving you towards the beginning of the new year, which will be, of course, during the March equinox point and our own astrological beginning of the year. But in this time in the between, what Spirit is showing me, it is really important, it is vitally essential for us to observe what truly is leaving our space and what is entering. What is that clearing space, right? What is kind of like what wants to come in, but at the same time, what needs to exit before this occurs, because every clearing opens a new doorway to that which comes in next. And because this energy is so new, and in many ways it's the cosmic rays, the activity of these rays that is bringing this newness to us, because it is so new and unfathomable in a way, it's difficult for us to have a sort of a direct navigational system for what's to come next. And this was quite a journey of trust and moving with that energy space of dissolution. If you remember and look back in January, we had 2 eclipses and it was intense. We had one gateway where we sort of felt the potentiality of dissolution, and the second one, which was the full moon eclipse, it was a full blossoming doorway, was the availability of that essence of invitation, creating that sacred space. So those of you who are ready, you're going to start feeling a new upsurge of revitalization of life force. I've been quite in a deep void this month. It was actually in December, but January was very intensified. It was a void beyond all voids I've ever experienced in my life. And I want to remind you again that when I talk about these things as energy potentialities, they do not necessarily resonate with where you are now in particular. So, when people come in and they look at that as predictions and they say, well, that didn't happen for me, or that's not true for me, so that must be fake. These people truly have a limited scope of view that, it's all about resonance. I'm talking about the gateways that are opening, and it's the pioneering beings who are walking through those gateways first. And they're living their legacy, and they're leaving footsteps of light, or seedlings, kind of like crumbs behind their footsteps, that are kind of like guiding forces or signposts for those beings who are coming in the same wave. But every wave has, that point, right? Which, if you look at the wave coming like this and then it eventually hits the shore, the wave has a way that it's moving, right? So there's always someone there at the tiptoe, right, at the beginning point, and there's that which follows the wave, but it's all essentially one wave. So just really tune into the energy space of where you are. You might still be feeling more the energy of the solution. You might be working more with invitation. These go hand in hand. There are simultaneous parallel essences that work hand in hand together. No essence of being is truly separate from any other essences. This is the whole point of the wholeness of illumined essences coming into embodiment, into the embodied form. So as you know, there are many teachers of light that predecess this period, and I still, in many ways, I enjoy tuning into that mind quality of source, which is that divine masculine archetype and quality of life. But at the same time, I recognize my being, my presence as a divine feminine, as the creatrix of life, as a birthing point for the embodiment of all this knowledge in a new way that evolutionary wants to become a part of our living reality and what we're sustaining through our form. So we're literally nourishing this new, and we're sort of like inviting these new energies. So the space of invitation is literally a space that you have to be quite an advanced being to literally create such a wide space and then invite these new energies in. Because if you're doing that from a space of non-awareness and you want to have benefits from it that just feed you and into your reality, it's not a humbled, a sacred devotion to life, which means life will move you the way you're capable of being moved in this body at this time, and it's not self-serving, but it serves a greater whole, then this wave won't carry you and bump you into the shore and then you're going to crash. You're going to easily ride this wave. That's what I'm seeing. So the idea behind this is to serve love, and this new upsurge of love. And remember, in the beginning of the year, well, wait a minute, that was just last month. So it was this whole channeling of a heart ripping open, and it's the illumination of the heart, new potentialities, new bright hopes on the horizon. But these hopes are, it's kind of like, you know, we all hope and aim for something, and hope is an element of moving into a higher refined energy of trust. Trust is that unconditional faith, and hope sometimes gets us along this process. But this now, with this new wave of love and coming into our embodiment, there's a feeling of hope that's not up there, but a hope that's grounded. So if you had waves when you could feel, wow, an upsurge of light and cosmic beloved energy, and then you were crushing down and then up and down, now this hope is more stable, it's more grounded. That is literally an indicator that you've done a certain element of this work. So that's the first guidance I received, that's the first wave of the eclipse effects is becoming evident in the pioneering souls or their pathways that are bringing through. The second is the keyword, which is love as essence manifest. So that's the doorway. And this is now us starting to feel those first nuggets of heart illumination, what I've shared with you in the month of January. This came through as a preparation. Remember, I also did an introspection journey, moving through the overseeing essence of everything that last year brought and now what we're actually moving into. Because with every new doorway you enter as an initiate of light, you have to sort of look what actually got you to this point. And you can feel nothing but complete gratitude for that process. If there's parts of you who cannot yet feel that, you're not yet ready to fully step through the doorway. A teacher might present itself, a situation, opportunity, and will kind of like indicate, do like this towards you, and you're gonna be like, you know, I can see like, you know, when there's this image of a dog, there's an owner walking a dog, and the dog meets someone along the way, as you know, the owner walks the dog, and the dog is like, the owner says, come, come, you know, and there's a new person there, dog wants to play with them, so the dog does like, ooh, at the same time, I'm loyal to my master, right? But at the same time, oh, there's a new person, I want to play it, right? So it's like this wavering, right? This is kind of like how this feels, or the image I'm receiving. It's all fine, right? But it shouldn't feel like we're being torn between things. When there's an upsurge of light and we're ready to be carried with that wave, it will be natural. It will be very much in flow, spontaneous, and it will nourish us. It won't kind of like take us and crash us right into the shore. So there was different elements of the visions I was seeing when I myself was stepping through this journey. At the first part, I felt like I'm just deep in the dark void, you know, and for me, it's very potent because I'm right in the middle of my Saturn transit, which in Vedic astrology is called Sarasati, and it's very, very intense. And I'm still 1 year in the peak experience. These are kind of like cycles, go like this, and each cycle brings a new doorway potential. And because I myself am in this cycle, I was seeing how these collective cycles are working with the collective energy. So in your personal self, you are actually working the greater cycle of the collective energy, but at the same time there's also illuminating presence that permeates through all of that. So I was learning about this, and so for this month in the Ascension enhanced guidance for the advanced level and my Patreon page for the 3rd level of initiation, there is a course I created, and it will be available. I always do my monthly content after the payouts on Patreon. And it's all about these shadows of light and dark, how we're applying ourselves through these, what are our experiences, how are we feeling in these cycles, how do they assist us, what's the level of understanding yourself in each of these stages, what is the so-called soul absorption, what's that have to do with everything. So that's going to be on my Patreon. But really, really what's important now is to just be with where we are, and what I'm doing now is I'm following as a spiral energy more. I've learned to really follow the spiral consciousness and just be with the energy where it is. I might get an upsurge and I'm really uplifted and I really want to create something, and then I feel this downward strutting energy. It's like pulling me downwards. It means, okay, I have to stabilize and ground because so much energy came through my uplifted creation. So it's sort of like this dance. And the more refined we're becoming in our energy presence, the more we know how to dance this dance without exhausting ourselves, overwhelming, overburdening our bodies, our physical. So the theme is now, how may we serve the essence of love in this new state? What I also do is the 2nd level of content on Patreon now for my group of Ascension devotees. I just call them like that. You're just my companions, basically. But I like to use the word devotees because devotion is my favorite word. That's all that's meant there. I'm not anyone's guru or anything like that. But I really love this word. And when you're truly devoted, you bring such a blessing to this world. So this month's reading, which is at the 2nd level of what I do these readings, was basically you're reading, right, how now love wants to be expressed at the higher level, because each time you walk through a new doorway, you will perceive yourself as love embodied in a completely new way, and thoughts and ideas and projections of what you perceive love to be and how you need to serve are shifting, and they're morphing into a more refined level. So there was a channel message about this there, and I always do in these readings 3 different options for where you can choose where you're personally at in this moment. But the notion of everything was, how are you individually in a very unique way serving love from this vantage point of your deep metamorphosis process? Because literally what I experienced in January was unlike anything before. It was such a deep metamorphosis, and I felt like for the first time my being, because so many aspects of the individualized presences were complete in what they needed to do and achieve, there was like this this ease. And I've noticed this because I observe my feelings and my indications, right, what I'm being pulled to and how and why. I do a lot of contemplation, as you know, a lot of self-examination and research, and what I've noticed was that sort of this feeling which was always driving me and pushing me, and I felt so eager, like I need to do this and this feeling was like dissolving, and that was part of my dissolution process in January. And I feel now when I do something, it's coming from a new space of choice, a totally new level of choice, which is now more unconditional, more receptive, and more direct, as in truly coming from my illumined state, which now kind of like comes like this, and then it flows through all of these aspects, but they're now more unified. And this was really beautiful. So for us to truly be in the presence of love, there's also a theme coming through being in the essence of beauty. As you know, February is already known as the month of love. Not just because it's Valentine's Day, right? I didn't just do a video reading with this dedication because we call it the month of love, but truly because this is the year of heart illumination, love wanting to be expressed at a much higher level than it was before, being even us even being capable of perceiving and nonetheless embodying it in human form. So I believe to be in the essence of beauty, and recently in one of the oracles, I read this quote, "I see beauty everywhere and it raises my vibration." And I believe it is so important because beauty is a reflection of that love. Love makes things manifest. Love grows everything. Love gives the breath of life to everything. And to know beauty is to know your natural beauty first, because through your beauty, you get to see the whole world is beautiful. Today, I actually tuned into Instagram, and there was one of the pictures from the cosmology pages I subscribe to. I love these images. They always take me to the, cosmic octaves of being. And there was one image when they showed nebulas, in the cosmos, and the next one there was a microscopic image of a leaf or something, and similar patterns repeating in everything. And the question was, why are we in our mundane life trivializing so much the beauty in everything, and we see only the beauty when we look through, I don't know, a Hubble telescope and looking at the stars and saying wow, and seeing these nebula kind of images. And then our daily life is just seen as mundane, routine, like nothing special. We get so adjusted to things, we just take them for granted as a standard norm. But to really be in the space of beauty is to recognize it through the reflection of your own beauteous state, and recognize that in everything, because that in itself is a reflection of love. That's the love as truth, as the living principle of life in creation. Not just love, you believe love is giving, then love is also receiving, but there's still a hint of duality there. When you become really, really like, you're getting closer, I will say, like this, in this embodiment of yourself as love, you're always going to see yourself in a different way. So when you go through these different stages of soul growth and evolution, at one stage you might associate more with one aspect of you, then you might have a tendency towards something else. And there's different pulls in life, because in a way, these aspects of you want to have all of these explored until they feel, until they say, I'm bored now, I've done everything here and I've done everything there. So love always says, the love of the creator, as says, create all these things and then bring them back to me. The same way that this applies at a greater macro cosmic picture of life, it is reflected and it applies in our daily, our minute, even microscopic picture of who we are. So everything you've created, then you always bring back to you, and that's the state of soul absorption. When there's readiness, when there's a feeling like I no longer need to go there and pursue, and there's something just pulling me for me to complete something, and the feeling is just because it's leading you somewhere. It's just for us not to be attached to that goal or realization of something, but to know that within that is a hidden spark of realization of the self, and that even that realization of the self truly is non-personal and belongs to a realization of the greater plan of the divine, because the divine does have a greater plan of perfection. So we're morphing and we're shifting and we're feeling so many things. And I felt like this eclipse for me was in the 8th house specifically, and I had lots of 8th house eclipses before during these years. And I really felt that's the call, the return to the self. All you've done, just these are reflections, these are mirrors of you. They're not stages even. Oh, I came to this stage, I did that, I advanced in this and that. But to really leave all those aspects, in January's update, if you go and look back, it was all about just this humble releasing of everything, just this like humbling ourselves and dissolution of all these ideas and structures we hold about ourselves, even things like, oh, I'm a teacher, I'm this, I'm that, and just questioning everything, putting everything in the question mark, because there was this blank slate coming through us. We had many of those, I personally had many deaths as well, but this was bigger. This was really very vital, a crucial component for all those who are traveling in the ascension waters, especially in this life, to know that when you come to really high refined state, beauty will be that which calls you the most, because being surrounded with beauty is not just to be surrounded with objects that you call sacred items that do remind you of that which is within, but to be in the presence of the beauty, which is the laws of patterns of creation in everything, right? So that which we see when we look at the stars through a telescope or a microscope, something under the microscope, that everything is in our daily life just as well magical and beautiful. So maybe this month, just reminding ourselves to find, not just to find like we're looking for it, but to see beauty through our findings of life that are new, but at the same time they're primeval, primordial. So the word coming through is also charisma, and charisma actually means spirit shining through. It's shining through form, and this is not the kind of beauty that is physical in its makeup, in its design, but it's the physicality that reflects that spirit. And as you know, I always talk about this very much as in being our emphasis. The channel drawing, because you know in Patreon I do beautiful channel drawings each month. They show aspects of where we are in our physical ascension, and again, I know that the majority of the people is not yet experiencing this, because in a way I am a pioneering aspect, but they're out there. These are potentials, they don't go away. So it's like when you're looking at the drawings, they're pulling you in. They're light encoded messages within illumination, and I have a very sacred process in the way I make them. As you know, I started doing these cosmic drawings a lot. I was counting today. I did almost 50 already in just, I don't know, a couple of months. And when I sit down with the drawing, it's like that which is unspeakable, the highest truth and certain principles just come through me, that which I cannot express with words. And in my Instagram page, I used to do a lot of writing and readings like every day. I was like a worker bee. But then Spirit said, no, now you're going at this higher refined level. And sometimes people might be disappointed because they think you will always provide them with something in a certain way. And they kind of like idolize you through that, or just that's not the right word I use. They identify you, sorry, with that, or through that, and you kind of become this figure in their eyes, someone who does this and that. I don't do anything in particular. I'm a vessel for spirit. For me, the highest aspect why I'm here is to embody the purity of spirit and essence, to be at essence and form. That's my highest intention. That's the Creator's mission of that feminine force of life becoming the realization in this form. Everything I do along the way, it's a part of the process, but it's not defining me. It's not what I do. It's a reflection of a certain something wanting to come through a certain way, and that's basically all there is. But the drawings are really beautiful aspects, the way I can express certain cosmology, sometimes principles of creation, sometimes just things that come through as energetic visuals, images, the way energy wants to flow through, but it's all very fluid when I do it. But when I do specifically these drawings for the month, which I share on Patreon, these are the first level of taking the content in, which is the channel spirit message, the light grid, and these drawings, as well as the lunar messages as well. So these drawings, it's kind of like a sacred process how I tune to them and how I create them. It's a very sacred space that I enter into, and I channel, and first I do this prayer and invocation, and then I ask to receive, and then when I do it, I will always feel like a fluttering presence around me, like something's like touching me all over, and I feel all these beings. They're kind of like assisting me to really put the energy through in the way that most reflects. It has nothing, you know, the state of what I'm drawing, but it has nothing to do with, oh, it's drawn this way or that technique, or, you know, it should be better. It's about improvement. It's being perfect in the moment and the way it wants to come through, even in whether the energy will be softer, the way I'll draw in a softened way, or it will be more intense energy, more like lines, curves. It really depends. But the image I got for this month was such a sigh of relief, because it was that opening, was to that surge of light that we're now ready for. Whenever you're watching, whenever you feel this is now happening in your life, in your inner life level. So at the level of your inner life, you're noticing this metamorphosis. It's kind of, there was a breakthrough, and this natural tendency, the affinity towards light, created the shield, and we're held within it. And now this causes the old just to step away, and there's just like this light became its natural force field and a shield of energy, which was this metamorphosis of the inner being entering into the core created this. And then now there's this openness, this receptiveness at a whole new level to these new incoming cosmic influences, and it was such a beautiful drawing. So I wish you to, if you are called to take the content in through Patreon, at the same time support my work, you can do so. I really hope the Light family to grow there. But I want to now, just to wrap up a bit, give you a little bit of the presentations of the energy. You all know that these energy numbers we use each month are just a part of universal energy, but we're still reading the Gregorian dates, right? The calendar of the Gregorian nature. So the 2019 being a year of 3, right? This is the creatrix year, the year of the Empress, the year when the feminine principle truly creates like a breakthrough in which the roots of its living essence, the way it's sustained, can penetrate this field of earth sphere of being in existence. So each month we take the energy of the month and add it to that energy, which is the year, yearly number. So now we have a 14, 5 actually adding up number through the universal energy, which also, 14 is temperance in tarot. Number 5 is always the energy of change, shift. It's adaptability to change. But it's also, I feel it's very dynamic. 5 is very dynamic because it's here and it's there. It's like this, right? 5, for me, it also represents the 5th house, which is the Leo ruled house. So we did have an eclipse in Leo. So definitely those of you who are part of the first wave of moving this energy, you will feel like a burst of this creative energy. I felt it now towards the end of the month. It was like all the stagnancy, because the stagnancy is a part of creating that void. It's much needed when you're walking through the absorption energy. And then there's suddenly an eruption, and this eruption of light will bring so much at once that you had to enter into this absorption and sometimes even what you feel more stagnant energy, so that the body built a new coating and coping mechanism to even be able to hold all this that's coming through now. We don't always appreciate that. We think the body just automatically has to respond to all this upliftment and what we want to do. We just take it for granted. So the same way we operate with these energies, right, that we're seeing as magical and great, the same way we take our body for granted so much. So, we think it's just always going to be there. It's going to always do our functions, whatever we wanted, all of our surges, all of our current whims. But it is so important, it is so vital in this physical ascension process for the body to be allowed to do its thing naturally. Okay, so if you're interested, the advanced level on Patreon has this light shadow cycles mini course. The one in January, the course was about ascension synthesis, which was also very beautiful. It's where a lot of souls now finds themselves, they're finding themselves there, but now it's about a deeper understanding of these cycles. So when you have a knowledge of it, you can surf through this knowledge and you're becoming a master of polarity. And this is the most crucial understanding of us being totally balanced, north, south, right, upwards, downwards, above, below, but also left and right, feminine, masculine, because these principles now from the core, they're being not just understood, but they're becoming universalized through us. That's why man has the capacity to become greatness out there in space, to move, in other regions of space with its own knowledge. But there's seeds of that pioneering energy that are going first. Okay, and those of you watching, you might just be on the spectrum of this wave of energy. Besides this universal energy, codes, dates, numbers, I've shared with you before a beautiful work. I don't have it here with me. Oh, the calendar is on my wall, but it's Larkma Palladium Perspective. If you go on my webpage, I have a link. It's called Cosmic Companions, I think. It's down at the sidebar of my webpage, Serapina Light. You can find the link to their page. You can order their book on the cycles of consciousness, and there's a calendar that goes with it that actually applies the Mayan wisdom, the Mayan energy system, the numerological system, as well as the Pleiadian energies in combination with earth energies. So you have a combination of universal and earth energies, and these are my friends and I love them. I love their work. It's very important for most humans to really apply themselves through also these higher numerological systems. They're more based on spiral than the linear or the cyclical. So when I follow the calendar, I write the daily energy every day, and then towards the end of the day, I just look, I write it with golden letters. Towards the end of the day, I look and I see, wow, so much is aligned with where the energy is, and how the integration of different numbers of 13 universal energy signatures and 20 of earth signature combines itself, each time creating unique energy patterns. But this also aligns with where you are in your own light and shadow cycles. This is also explained there in the work, and I will talk about it in the course on Patreon as well. So what we also have this month, I believe is interesting, is Venus in the beginning of the month goes in Capricorn, which is all about practicality and realism. and just really seeing life through greater glasses of wisdom. Capricorn is all about the old wise sage and the wisdom. Sometimes it can be serious and has a tendency towards tenacity, and that tenacity brings a certain felicity, which is a serious energy, but it's needed, right? And it will actually be a very beautiful blending energy, um, because I think what I've seen somewhere is that Mercury will go into Pisces, which will be more productive for creativity and idealism and unconditional love. So there's this combination, right? Being more applied through pragmatism and also idealism. This is always very important because we're here to ground these higher principles here on Earth. So we will have a new moon in Aquarius, objectivity, humanitarianism, right? And then towards the end of the month, we will have Virgo full moon, right, on the 19th, which is about service and humility. So I believe it's a very much a month that corresponds to the energy signature and theme I've received about how may I serve the essence of love. Just ask yourself this question, perhaps maybe write it down as your main statement. Your desire is not how will I benefit from this? How will I be initiated so that I will have more abundance in my life? Whenever the focus is just me, mine, my, you're still not there in terms of becoming illumined. You're still treading the treadmill as those tiny pieces think they've got it all figured out. And it's a part of soul evolution, you know. Not every soul is an ancient soul who has gathered momentum so much so that now it perceives itself as a part of a much larger family that now is serving together with and through. So it's a beautiful energy now this month for unconditional love, seen, perceived, embodied at a much higher essence level. How now love speaks through you, not through wants and needs, maybe of the old self and the joys of the old life. We like call like that because it is old in a way. You've kind of like transfigured your way through it, and then how can you be in that pioneering energy of the new, which will also be very well presented with a Mars conjunct Uranus on the 13th. 13 is always such a good number of spirit. For me, it's a spirit number, right? It's that sacred goddess, sometimes even the feminine principle that was so repressed. That's why it's rebellious in nature, right? So we have something new, a new path opening. Stay alert, watch out for that. Anyway, beautiful energy coming through. Is there anything else? Let me see. I think that's it. And know that the being attuned to beauty is not having objects and items and beautiful on the outside. But if that is a tendency, it's a natural, inborn, subsequent kind of like unfolding that just aligns with the resonance of your own inner beauty, which you're now not just saying, I'm beautiful, but applying that beauty through all you do in your divine creativity and all you bring to the surface, and recognize that nothing is small. Nothing you cultivate is small in essence. It's the way you do it. It's the way you know you're doing it through the law of brotherhood and sisterhood and unity, through the application of a much higher will than just me, mine, my way or the highway. And yeah, I think that's it. So look out for the content on Patreon coming. It will be coming out towards always in the beginning of the month. The mini Ascension course, as well as you can see, I did the Illumined Beloved at the essence level of its purpose video. I go much deeper into that understanding there, applying the principle of merged polarity, and as well as it will be even deepen in the mini course on Patreon. This month I'm taking also much needed time to study. I was already studying a lot in January. I couldn't read much. It's like I could barely touch a book with all the integration that was occurring in the body. The body was just like, no. And the body knows what it's doing. So I believe now with this new upsurge I've entered into, I want to really take this month to deepen my studies. I'm going to take in new higher principles, like hermetic principles. You know, I've been studying a lot. I just want to go deeper into that, to deepen the awareness of law in this physical embodiment. But I always see it through my own feminine, the creatrix embodiment. And that's why I love to take this in, like this upsurge of light, and to make the vertical horizontal in unity and to unify it. That's what I do. So I'll be more withdrawn probably in February. It will be my study month. If you want to work with me personally, all the information is on my personal services page. Sometimes people ask me, but that's what's available is available. I don't do something that you want me maybe to do, because that's what spirit guides me to do, and this is what I do best. That's why it's there in the framework, in the format that it's offered. So you might also want to consider the new Illumined Body template course. It is so crucially important for where we are now and where you might be going. Even though you're feeling, I'm just at the beginning stages, it really matters not. Because sometimes people tell me they will see or resonate with something of mine first at a more like withdrawn stages, and they're kind of like still feeling like newbies, and then they're going to go deeper into it, and through time they're going to notice a lot of progress. So this is how the soul works in the physical. Progress is always there, so don't get scared or disencouraged in the first few steps. Just follow your light, tread lightly, and I hope you will have a beautiful month. I'm wishing you a lot of that splendor, and those of you who've really done the work, who went through the deepest of transformations just like I did, we're going with it together. And please let me know, right, how you're feeling. I'm always there on Instagram. You can write me in comments. Sometimes people do that. That's where you can reach me. But for private consultations on the work I do via spirit guidance, you can find me via my webpage, Serapina Light. I love you, and I'll leave you with that. And so much love at the higher level now, as always, ever before. I'll see you. Take care. Bye bye.
Come into my world, the world of the elven song, magical.